All right, welcome back to another episode of D2D Success Stories. Here today with Brigham. Lindsay. Welcome, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, stoked to have you. So we got some mutual friends. I know a lot of the Active crew. That's where you've been most of the. Well, let me intro you a little bit. So, Brigham, Lindsay, partner. What's the official term? Partner manager, or just partner, or what do they say?
I don't even partner.
Partner, like a big regional or VP or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. At Active.
Correct.
How big is you guys' org these days?
So we'll do over 35 million
Okay.
in revenue.
Yeah.
We did 25 million last year.
Nice.
Just over. So
What's the rep count? Do you know?
around 300 reps.
Sweet. So running a big old org over there at Active, and you've been in the industry since, I think you said 2012?
2012.
2012. And we were talking about it, 3 straight summers of 1,000 accounts, back when that didn't happen much. All right. With that as kind of the intro. We'll go back to the beginning, though. So tell us just, a minute or two about kind of where you grew up and being a kid, high school, college, that type of thing.
So, man, loved my childhood. Grew up in the 90s.
Yeah.
So there was no, internet. There was no social media. It was all just get your bikes, no helmet.
I relate.
You're just cruising around playing cops and robbers, exploring the woods. I had a great childhood. Grew up with 4 brothers.
Okay.
All close in age. Wasn't a big fan of school.
Yeah, okay.
Still went. Ended up dropping out.
Okay.
Got caught up in the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Wrong crowd. Still love those guys. Obviously, my good buddies from Georgia.
Day one. Georgia, that's where you're from?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So I grew up in the South.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a fun time growing up down there. Like I said, wasn't big into school. Ended up dropping out a couple times. I ended up getting my GED at the Youth Challenge Academy. It's a boot camp.
Nice.
Down in Fort Stewart, Georgia. So that was an awesome time. Me and my sergeant somehow see this.
Super military and all that, waking you up and push-ups and all that crap.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
I remember one time my sergeant jumped my absolute shiz.
Yeah.
Because we had this thing called KP, which is kitchen patrol, and I did not want to do KP. It's where you just sit there and wash dishes all day.
Yeah.
And so he called my name for KP, and I went just like that. It was like 4:30 in the morning. I don't remember exactly when it was.
Smacked your gums at him.
I just smacked. I was like, and he got within an inch of my face and said, "Don't you smack your GD lips at me." Just going off. And I'm like, holy crap. Yeah, I learned my lesson there.
Yeah.
Don't ever smack your lips. That's disrespectful.
So what's this, 17, 18 years old?
18 years old.
Yeah.
So it was court ordered for a lot of the kids that were there, but it was also voluntarily.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the ones that just kind of went there voluntarily because I'd already dropped out of school. My dad just brought it to my options. But yeah, got my GED. Ended up just kind of going back in the same crap. So I ended up changing my life, though, at age 23. So I ended up dropping out of, high school, didn't go to college, was just kind of messing around. At 23 is when I was like, all right, I better start
doing something
with my life because I feel like I should be on a different path. And if I don't do it, and I kind of came to the realization, no one's coming to save me. It's either me or I'm going to continue down this path.
Yeah, you can just still be here 10 years later.
100%. So I was at a dead-end job, just working, it was just, wasn't good fit. That's my kind of growing up. And then I ended up going on a mission for the LDS Church. I went to Oaxaca, Mexico.
Oh, nice.
I absolutely love the Mexicans. They're great people. I married one. My little kid's half Mexican.
Love it.
Speaks Spanish, so we taught him Spanish and everything.
What was that like because were you 23 when you went, thereabouts?
25, so I was like the cutoff.
Yeah.
There was no other, couple more months and they would have been like, nope, you ain't going.
There was actually plenty of older missionaries in my mission. Some of them had waivers. They were quite a bit older than 20. They were 29
really?
Or some stuff. Yeah. Had
That's
that
wild.
A few times. And, a few of them were like, dude, maybe you shouldn't have bothered. And then there was a few others who were just goated. They were the freaking best.
Yeah.
Were you, as much as you want to evaluate yourself, were you a good missionary? Were you dialed or?
I was dialed for sure.
Kind of still getting it together maybe?
No, I was 100%. I was dialed, bro.
Dialed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
took that very seriously.
I think to decide to go when you're 25, you you don't do that unless you mean it.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I did it for a couple of reasons. I did it for myself to just give myself a good foundation, you know, and I didn't want to go back to where I was, but then also I knew I needed to give back for all the crap I've pulled.
Yeah.
All the people I've, hurt in my life.
Makes sense.
So.
I know depending on where you served and when you served, knocking doors on the mission can kind of either be in or out of vogue. Was it a thing for y'all?
Wasn't very big for me. I didn't like it. I liked working with members better.
Street contact some though?
I did it. Yeah. And I even did the whole walk on a bus and just get everyone's attention and just start preaching to the whole thing.
Oh, like back, street preacher stuff?
Oh, yeah. That was wild.
I never did that one. That's funny.
That was wild. You get there's such an adrenaline. I don't even know how. It wasn't effective. I'll say that. Like just jumping on a bus doing that. It was fun, and it was like, you felt like you were doing something. But
dude, just as a side note, sometimes people ask me did you get good at knocking doors on your mission? I went to Peru. You could get in the house with something as simple as, "Hi, I'm Elder Henry.
Yeah.
We'd like to share with you a message about Jesus. Can we come in?"
Totally.
So I don't know if I learned skills, but it actually was an exercise in how bold can I get myself to be?
Yeah.
Just along the lines of the bus thing. It's sometimes they're just like, I'm going to do some freaking even crazier, bolder stuff today, see what happens.
Yeah. No, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing games as well on my mission where we would see how many people in a row we could get to say hi back.
Yeah.
And so we'd be like, "Hola," and we'd get really almost aggressive with it. Like we'd give them some serious eye contact.
Yeah.
And stuff. And, we'd get 5, 6 in a row. And the more we got in a row, the more energized we'd get. Like, "Oh, we're on number 5.
Yeah.
Whatever. So
I did this thing where I would always invite our taxistas, our taxi drivers, I would always invite them to get baptized just in our conversation in the car. My companion thought I was wild. I know I made him uncomfortable, but I'd almost just do it to make him uncomfortable. Anyway. Cool. So you get back. What year is this more or less?
2011.
Is when you get back?
Yep.
Sweet. And does pest control happen shortly after that?
So I ended up not even knowing if I could get into BYU, Idaho.
Okay.
That's how bad I was in school.
Yeah.
BYU, Idaho.
Yeah.
I didn't even sure if I could get in there. So I took a flight out there to take the test to get in there. I think it's like the ACT test, something like that. And thank the Lord I scored just above that. No, I don't remember what I scored, but I scored good enough to make it in.
Yeah.
And so there I was in BYU, Idaho. And I did not plan on doing sales at all. Matter of fact, I was not really against it, but I was just more in the path of get through school as fast as I can and then plow through as fast as I could, get on my career and start my life because I felt like I was already starting behind.
Yeah. There's probably still an element of new life too. Like you're moving Georgia to Idaho. You're just getting out of town, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, it was good. I ended up, doing really good in school. I had a 4.0. I was doing really well. I was just dialed in school. I knew I needed to do well. I didn't have time to waste.
Right.
I was older. I started a little bit older. You can imagine at BYU, Idaho, being in freshman classes at 28 years old.
Yeah.
So I did not want to be there too long.
Right.
That's how that started. But then it just got to the point where I was just broke. Did not have any money. And so I was kind of borrowing money from my dad. I had some other grants. I don't remember what they were called that helped me out a little bit through school. But I was just tired of borrowing money from my dad. And so I shout out to Chase Williams. I hit him up. And this was in the summer of 2012. So in the middle of the summer.
Okay.
I was like, "Chase, I need a job. Can you hook me up?" And he wasn't very responsive. He knew me from high school. So he knew that I wasn't
Oh, so he's from high school.
Yeah, so he's from Georgia. Him and his family are. And I had to kind of be persistent with him. He offered the Service Pro job to me. I was like, "Dude, come on, man. If you can do this, I can at least do half of what you did. Come on." And so he gave me a shot. Thank you, Chase, for giving me that chance. And so I went out there and, the rest is history. I actually showed up with no cell phone, just got on the plane. My backup option was go to the beach.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not like your typical I knew I was going to be successful and all this. No, right. I was like, "Dude, let's give it a shot. I got no other better options."
Yeah. One of my first couple guests was talking about, a lot of people go out there for their first summer and they're not making any money, so they want to go home. He says, I made so little money that I couldn't afford to go home. I had to stay. So, all right. So, normally I'd kind of ask like how you got recruited, but I guess you just kind of had the homie hook up and that's who you were going with. Did you consider anything else or?
Yeah, I ended up, was potentially going to go work at a place called Brigham's over there in Rexburg.
Yeah.
And it's just a grocery store. So,
but no other door-to-door.
No.
Yeah, you didn't do the
rounds.
rounds.
I had one like satellite company knock on my door, and they were like super pushy. I was late for school. They kind of barged their way into my, dorm or whatever, and just like
didn't like the vibes.
Weird. Yeah, this feels weird.
I got you. So were you good instantly, or how'd it go?
My whole thing when I started off was I actually prayed my first door. They didn't answer. I was so nervous. And Chase actually wrote the script down for me right before he dropped me off. I didn't have the script memorized. Mm-hmm. And so there I was kind of memorizing, going door to door. But my two main thoughts was, okay, I just got to work hard, talk to a lot of people, and just keep a good attitude.
Yeah.
And that was the only two things I focused on that day. And I ended up selling 6 my first day.
Killed it.
So some guy gave me a shot. I still remember him. Terminex switch over.
Nice.
And the rest is history. I ended up signing up 6 people that day, but when I gave Chase the paper contract, because back then it was just paper.
Yeah.
Like some didn't have signatures, some didn't have payment info on there. Like there was so many like screw ups.
Yeah.
On those contracts. Chase was like, "Oh, he sold 6, but really he didn't sell. Oh, looks like he sold like 1."
One, right?
So we went back to all of them to make sure we got everything correct.
Yeah.
And they were all solid, like, "Oh yeah, we're solid. Yeah, come on, we know he's coming by tomorrow too.
Yeah.
Yep, we're good. We want it."
That's fine.
So
that's awesome.
It was good.
Yeah. And was this Altera or was this the previous?
This was the first year of Altera.
First year of Altera.
First year of Altera started in 2012, so I came out the end of 2012. So I came out for like 5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. And do you remember how many you got? I mean, 5 weeks.
I think 89.
That's a lot for 5 weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And so I did the math, and I'm like, okay, I would have sold about 250 to 300 if I'd have done it for a full summer. Mm-hmm. So that's what kind of made me decide to give it one more chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another shot.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into what I was going to ask. Like, what's your vibe like when you come back? Like, is it like, okay, this is what I do for work now, or I'm going to do at least one more summer, or
one more summer?
It's all you're certain of at that moment.
I didn't have the career mentality yet.
Yeah.
I did recruit. I was like, any recruits I get and bring, like, honestly, I had a great experience with Altera, and so I recruited some mission buddies and just some friends from school, and we had a great team. We went out to the Midwest. I think we were the first team from Altera to go out to the Midwest. So I was a little nervous about that.
Was it your team?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So they let me actually team lead after doing it for just 5 weeks, which looking back, I'm like, that was crazy.
It's huge.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's huge. And you go with what, 10, 12 guys? Or?
Yeah, we went out with, I think, 13 guys and finished with 11.
It's awesome, dude.
So not bad.
It's huge.
We had a good PRA and all that.
Yeah, and is that summer the summer where you crack 1,000 or?
No. That summer I did 653, and I wish I would have taken it a little more serious my last 2 weeks because I could have hit over 700 that first summer.
Right.
That first full summer.
So what explains the big jump? Because you said 250, maybe 300 pace based off the 5 week summer, and then you.
I think you just don't take in consideration that once you hit a bigger number, you know how to do it, and so it would be dumb to go back to what you used to do.
Right.
And so once you learn how to crank out a big number, you just have to continue to copy that.
You start to know what the anatomy of that day looks like and feels like. And
absolutely. You start to dissect, okay, what did I do on those good days, and how do I replicate those as much as I can? And so you kind of figure out, what those things are.
Mm-hmm. And how'd your team do that first full summer?
We did great. I know for sure we did over 200 per rep average. So, I think it was it was either 209 or 235. I can't remember.
It's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. It's awesome. So, yeah, man, huge. So how about getting home from that summer?
So that was my first real kind of money in the bank account. I felt great. I think I was one of the top reps in the company as well. I had won the Masters tournament that year too, so that was the one-on-one tournament. Had my best day, which was 22 in a day.
Right. Now,
Was it 20? Yeah, it's 22.
I sold a summer for Aptive, and I remember the chatter and the gravitas that goes with winning the Master. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
What was like the prize for it? Like a
think it was
freaking car or something?
There's a couple. There's been all types. There's like $10,000 gift card to like Visa or whatever.
Yeah.
I think there was one that was like $5,000. There was a dirt bike in one of them.
And all the sub prizes for winning the lead up rounds and stuff.
Big screen TV, speakers, PlayStation, whatever.
Classic.
Yeah. So back then it was like, dude, you're gonna freaking make it happen.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so, talk about your approach. Like, for instance, during the Masters, is it just kind of a I'm always this good even on normal days, so I'm just going to do my normal thing? Or do you kind of like get especially gassed up? Or
Man, definitely. So actually that specific Masters day, I was bummed because it was a 2-day tournament and I only sold 6 my first day.
Yeah.
I was like, energy levels were down. Like I was just kind of like, I'm going to get my freaking butt kicked. I don't know. Like he had 9, I had 6. So then at the end of the day, I was like, actually, he's only 3 more than me. I could easily get
if you go do 15
3 more.
And he does anything less than 12, there you go.
And so I said, screw it. I went to bed like depressed that night. I was like, I'm going to bed. I went to bed early. I remember I was like 10:30 at night I went to bed, which I usually go to bed like 11:30, 12. Mm-hmm. I went to bed early, woke up early, got out to my area early, drank an extra Coke, listened to that famous Lil Wayne song.
Yeah.
Just started visualizing in my car how I'm going to attack the day. And I just remember specifically getting chills and feeling my heart just pound.
Yeah.
And just started to attack the doors and got some momentum early. And I think I sold like 12 before lunch and then ended up with 22 that day.
Holy crap.
So beat him only by 1, though. I think he had like 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it took 22.
Yeah, and I remember actually speeding back to a callback, getting pulled over in a speeding ticket that same night, and got the callback, though. And that was the one that actually got me the win. So didn't know it because my phone was dead. So just tried to do everything I could to win and ended up by 1 deal.
Yeah, that's legendary. Cool, man. So, talk about coming home from that summer. Is the recruiting momentum just crazy? Like, are your dudes trying to get teams? And
yeah, we definitely had some good momentum. It was a lot easier to recruit guys. I think that have already been doing it because once they realized that it was true, like, okay, because back then in another company, 200, 300, 400 accounts was like amazing. You're the man.
Right.
And so 650 accounts, 700 accounts was like, what? Is that even possible?
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
And so it was a little bit easier to recruit guys from other companies back then. And so I think I ended up with some experienced reps. But I ended up recruiting just too many people that I could handle.
Okay.
So I went to Chicago the next year. And just the whole vibe in the offseason was fun. Just did a little bit of investing, but went to Chicago with like 20-something recruits. And it was just too much for me. It wasn't that was too much for me. I think I just didn't focus on the right recruits, and so it made my job a lot harder. When you have the right recruits, your job's easy.
A lot of babysitting.
I mean, just extra training. Guys are just not selling, so it brings down their car partners. Bad attitudes, wanting to go home, just so many problems.
Right.
And it makes it a logistical and just nightmare for you out there.
How did you do that summer, though?
I did okay. My goal was 700. I did 650 again. So I was bummed. And I actually felt like I worked harder that summer.
Right.
Like I was grinding every single day.
Just swimming upriver or something.
Yeah. Like I had to grind for it. Now, there was some positives about that. My retention was better the second year.
Okay.
My first year it was okay. It was a new branch manager, and it was close to 90%. But the second year was 94%.
Nice.
So it was really good. So there were some benefits there too.
Yeah. So, aside from just maybe I needed to recruit different dudes, was there any other lessons from that summer?
I almost didn't want to recruit again, actually. I was like, this was way too much work.
I want to go ball out by myself.
Yeah. Back then we're getting 1%, 2%, 3% override, just depending on what the recruits did. And so it was is this really worth all my time and energy and focus? And I just didn't want to bring out friends and they didn't do good. And so I actually decided not to recruit. And then I had a conversation with Kirk Williams. He was a coach back then for a lot of the leadership. And he said, well, why don't you just like not recruit a ton of guys, just focus on just the high quality ones.
Yeah. Well, you can almost recruit with like a little bit more of like an abundant mindset, because it's like, I am recruiting, but I'm also okay if you don't, because so you'll only recruit guys who are invested in doing it for their own strong reasons and willing to meet you halfway and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I ended up snagging a couple good recruits. One was from another company. It was one of their top reps, and all of my recruits did amazing this year. This was back in 2015.
Okay.
And that year, I did the best too, so I went from 650 to 1,100 that year.
Yeah.
And that was when things really started to pick up for me, and just momentum and recruiting and building my downline, and just the success all together in door-to-door was 2015.
Yeah.
Our guys, I think we did, on average, if I remember correctly, we had an average of, back then it was all just based on accounts. Mm-hmm. Revenue, really, we weren't like considering that as a metric.
Right.
And so account-wise, I did 1,100, but my team averaged 335.
Strong.
Put that in perspective, the second place team had an average of 235 or 234. We were like 100 more than the second place team.
Like a few standard deviations away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was fun. We were on another level that year.
Yeah, man. And I, like I said, I sold with Aptiv a year. I think it was that exact year, and people knew about you, bro. It was like you were Darth Vader. It's like they woke up and checked under their bed for you, because you were gonna stomp them in the competition or something like that. So
it was fun. I just got dialed. Those competitions really pushed me to sell more accounts. It was fun.
Yeah. So talk about kind of going from that 600-700 range to 1,100. Like, did you become more skilled? Did you get a better mindset? Like, what would you attribute it to?
Definitely both. I think, as you continue to do this, you become more confident in your approach. You're more relaxed. You're able to connect better with people. You know what to say, what not to say. You're better closing. You know that you should be using your momentum and not letting that go to waste. You know better than just to go to lunch when you have 3 or 4 deals and you're on a heater than just to stop and go to lunch. Like all of those, it's like calling a timeout in the NBA when you're on a 10-point streak there. It's like, it's just dumb. And so you just learn all these things over time, and now you're just using all these tools to your advantage and just letting it, see what you can do. Mm-hmm. And there's like several weeks, even probably at least a month or more, where I wouldn't even sell less than 10 in one day. It was awesome. You just knew that confidence was there. Your process is so dialed. You know that you're going to get out there at a certain time, and you're going to get won by this number, and you just kind of keep going from there.
How do you teach that?
Like to another rep?
Yeah, because the things you're talking about, and I love these things, but they seem like super like intuitive. Like you can definitely learn them, but can you teach it to another person, or do they just have to like kind of figure it out as well?
I think part of it is just like, for me, I became obsessed with the job. I don't know. I've always had that obsessive personality, like skateboarding, baseball, whatever it was that I was doing that I loved to do. Mm-hmm. It would just be whatever I'd eat, sleep, drink, skateboarding every single day. Uh-huh. And so with sales, same concept. I would eat, sleep, drink, sales all day, every day. And so I'm like, that's all I care about.
I think some of these things you're saying, like you were talking about, like the momentum when you take lunch, like all these little things that like, these are super, you have to be in a super conscious, introspective type of mindset to even think about them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think you don't even realize them unless you're a little bit obsessed.
You have to. That's how you get that knowledge.
Like it takes that full mental engagement to even get your brain analyzing like that.
It's like a detective, on a case, and they're just obsessive over this case, and they're thinking about it day and night, and then all of a sudden, boom, a light bulb clicks.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, this is a good clue. I need to follow this, and then maybe it ends up being the right, path.
Whereas the detective who clocks out at 5 and then goes home, he's just not mentally engaged with it enough to even get the wheels turning.
Right.
Yeah.
Your brain is extremely powerful, so if you can figure out a way to be obsessed And the way that I always tell reps, teach them like, hey, how do you know if you're even obsessed or not, is you have to look at it as, okay, the number one thing I ask myself when I'm making any sort of decision during the summer is this going to make me more sales or not? Mm-hmm. And that literally is like the foundational question that I ask myself. So,
that's the filter, the funnel.
Yeah. Is going to this place for lunch going to help me make more sales or not? And if the answer is no, you shouldn't go to the buffet and eat Chinese food just because it's $5. Get yourself into just this sluggish mentality. You should go and just eat something healthy.
Quick and fast.
Close
to your hood.
Keep your momentum.
Yeah,
exactly. Is driving 20 minutes to go hang out with a teammate worth it? Mm-hmm. Or should you just go to the gas station, get a Lunchable, a protein bar, and keep it moving?
I always say, if you're obsessed by how tired your wife is of hearing you talk about it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So you do 1,100, your team murders it. What happens next?
So we do it again in 2016, mm-hmm. Crush it again. I ended up hitting, I could have done over 1,100 that year. I think I did 1,050. Mm-hmm. Just wanted to at least hit 1,000.
Yep.
And I'll say this, that the lesson I learned from 2015 to 2016 was when I originally was going to start in 2016, my mentality was a little bit entitled, meaning that I just sort of believed that sales were going to come again.
Yeah.
And they weren't necessarily, I wasn't going to need to fight for them because I'm just this awesome sales rep. I just hit 1,000 accounts. Mm-hmm. But then I realized very quickly that no, I need to copy exactly what I did, which was high energy, high enthusiasm, a lot of work ethic, pushing through, working Saturdays long if I needed to, whatever it took, I needed to do those things again. And I can't just expect for the same results to happen just because they've already happened. Yeah. I got to put in the same work. That's what's going to bring me those same results.
It's a thing I think about a lot because I think a lot of time we think, like you said, I've done this so I can just do it again. But I always think of it in terms of just by the passage of time, your mindset, your skills, whatever, they've just, decayed, deteriorated 5%, 10%. I don't know. You can't quantify it. But it actually takes quite a bit of, swimming upstream just to stay even. And then even more than that to get better. Right. You know what I mean? Whereas if you don't do any at all, you think you're going to stay even, but what you actually get is worse.
Right. I mean? There's no you can't be idle in this job. You're either getting better at what you're doing or you're actually getting worse.
Worse, right. Yeah. Right. By the way, did you kind of spin off teams and get multiple teams somewhere in there?
2016, it was just one bigger team. That was because I had a smaller team in 2015. Mm-hmm. 2016, it was sort of a bigger team, and most of those guys were just, like I said, just studs, high-quality guys. Killers. So it really helped, made my job easier.
Yeah.
And then 2017 is when we started breaking off. We had, 3 different teams that year, 4 different teams.
Got you. Talk about that transition. Was that hard for you? Because then you're traveling places to check in on dudes, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of a curveball during the summer to have to stop momentum and travel out and train with a lot of different reps. So I think I had one team in Milwaukee, another team in Baltimore that year, and another team in Denver.
Yeah.
And had to travel to all of those different places twice during the summer. Mm-hmm. And so it was challenging. But it just kind of added another layer to the job, which I appreciate, which is pushing myself, teaching me, hey, even though you may have slightly less time, now you've just gotten better with urgency. Mm-hmm. And so now you're able to sell more accounts or do more in the time that you thought back then when you didn't have all these extra responsibilities. Maybe you didn't really use your time fully to the advantage. But now that you don't have that, excess time, you have to.
Yeah, it's kind of that whole phenomenon of if you want something done, ask a busy person. It's before you were the regional, you probably thought it takes however much time I have here, it takes all of this to produce this result. And it's well, are you sure? You don't actually know until you take some of the time out of the equation.
Right.
And see if you can still do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I can't remember who did the quote, but it's if you have a task to do by a certain date, let's say it's in 2 weeks from now, you'll get it done. Uh-huh. And if you have that same task to do by next week, you'll also
still get it done.
Yeah. And so it's just a matter of, okay, How are you focusing your time? How urgent are you with your time? So it was really good for me to be able to learn that I can still achieve, and actually have my best summer that year. I had 1,200 accounts that year. Mm-hmm. So
1,200 as a regional? Was it
I think I was like right
in
between divisional and regional. After 2017, I became a regional.
Yeah, traveling manager. It's kind of same stuff.
Yeah.
Cool, man. And again, this is the mid 2010s. People aren't doing 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 much.
No.
We were talking before we started filming. There may have been somebody who did 1,000 before you, but it's not like in close proximity to your circle, right?
No, there was nobody in Active doing over 1,000, or Altera, Active, whatever, doing 1,000 accounts. And if there was, I remember at Door to Door Con in 2017, because back when I did it my first 2 years, there was no golden doors.
Right.
So there was no like metric for, okay, you hit 1,000 accounts, you get a trophy, a cookie, whatever. Yeah. It's like, nope, that was like, the guys who were doing over 1,000 accounts right there were just kind of lunatics. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have anything to push us to that limit.
Yeah, you can't compare with other companies or anything like that.
But it was cool. It was fun because like the recruiting aspect of it, and just so actually one of my reps, the reason I stayed out to do 1,200 accounts was because one of my reps was so close to hitting 1,000. And so I ended up saying like, hey dude, just come out here with me. Let's finish strong. So I flew him out to where I was knocking, and we just kind of stayed out and knocked until he hit his accounts that he needed. So it was fun to have that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I bet that was fun. Just ball out with a dude who's, a little more of a peer level to you. And
yeah, we had some good days, and there was a couple tough days. One of the good days, we ended up selling like 25 together on one Saturday. We were just switching off.
Yeah.
And so like if like I got stumped, I'd look back and say, well, David, is there anything we can do for him? And he'd step in, hey, David Danes here. How are you? Yeah. And then he would just do the same thing for me. So it was like a game. We were having fun. We were buddies too. So it was awesome. I still remember, actually, here's a funny story for you. I still remember one of these days we were getting our absolute teeth kicked in. We had 0 by lunch, both of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, why the freak am I still out here, man? There's not another sale in this stupid city. Yeah. I'm ready to go home. He needs to get his goal.
Yeah.
All right. Like, why do I, I'm getting negative, right?
Right.
And there I am sitting there at Jersey Mike's, and we're at lunch. We're both at 0, and I'm just completely contemplating my whole existence of why I'm still there. Yeah. And I'm eating my sandwich, and I'm like, I'll just put my head down for a minute. How am I going to, I need to just tell this guy I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to go home, type of deal. And there was nobody like in the restaurant except for me, David, and then the workers.
Yep.
And I just thinking to myself, though, as I had my head down, I'm like, man, there's still deals here. We just had a bad attitude this morning. Like, we are just not in the great headspace. We're both kind of low energy, lethargic. Like, we're just not really fully there. And I remember, okay, I got to do something to kind of spike the energy. I got to do something to kind of get this guy out of his head and myself out of my head. And I realized, like, man, I'm being a little bitch. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing, is I'm being a little bitch. And so I was like, I got an idea. So I have my head down this whole time. And then I get up, I say, David, we're getting back out there. And I was like, and I remember looking up, I said, ain't no bitch in my blood. And I freaking yelled it. I yelled it. And then like, he looked at me.
Turn and look.
Oh yeah. Well, there was customers there by that point. I didn't realize I had my head down. I was basically like passed out for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And I look back, and they're all kind of looking at me like, let's go, let's get out of here. And I gave them a little pump up speech on the way back to area. And I'm like, dude, we just got to go out there and do what we've always done. Okay. We got to get big on the bandwagon. Yeah. All right. We got to get big with the hot buttons. We got to get big with the discount, bro. Like, we're not doing what we normally do. We're out there just kind of acting like a bunch of just, low energy clowns. Yeah. We're flyer boys out there, my guy. We're freaking closers. Yeah. And we go out there, and no kidding, we sold 21 in the afternoon.
Yeah, love it.
I sold 11. He sold 10 in the afternoon.
Oh, that's legendary.
And so it was just such a freaking awesome day to remember. It's one of those trophy days, you just remember forever. But it was fun.
Yeah, I bet you've told that story to teams a whole bunch of times.
It gets me pumped up because I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm being a little bitch. Let's go.
Well, and it brings up the question of how many different times has any guy gone back after lunch, done 0 in the hood where they could have done the 10 or 11 or whatever it is. And the flip side, maybe y'all could have balled out that morning. You know what I mean? It's all just
Dude,
it's
people
mental.
they're reading you like sharks.
Yeah.
If they see blood, you're done.
Well, one of my favorite things to say when I'm like running a meeting a lot of the time is people say like, well, I'm just super worried about this objection. Can be anything. Super worried about this objection I keep getting. It's like a weird, obscure objection that
Right.
I know that shouldn't be playing that big of a part in their day.
Yeah.
And the truth of it, what I wind up telling them a lot of times, I'm like, that objection isn't actually your problem. The problem is that you're worried about it, and then you're wearing that on your face.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Totally.
So.
It's the same thing with any day that you go out there. If you can just put on that face of I'm the guy, I'm out here crushing it, and just take yourself back to a day that you've been crushing it. That's probably my biggest tip for anyone that's had a good day or had a good week, and then they find themselves in a slump. First of all, stop saying you're in a slump.
Yeah.
Like you're crushing yourself just with that. Mm-hmm. But just go back to that day that you crushed it, and just copy everything you were doing, saying, and everything about that day. Mm-hmm. And theoretically, you should have a similar result. Mm-hmm. And that right there, that thought should give you a better energy on the doors.
Yep.
Because they're reading you right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we've already kind of said this, but you a big nonverbals type guy, body language guy.
Yeah, I'm a big. If I can sell myself on it first, then everything else follows.
Right.
Confidence. If I can truly create real confidence and real belief and real all this other stuff, then guess what? I'm not thinking of 100 things. Mm-hmm. I'm just going out there vibing with the person, and I actually believe in my mind I'm about to sell them. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that manifests itself.
Well, you gotta mentally engage with the moment too. I'm always astonished how many of my guys and gals are like physically at the door, but thinking about everything else. And I'm like, I'm surprised you said the script right. You're thinking about so many other things.
Yeah.
I guess I'm glad you can say the right words still.
Yeah.
Props to your memorization, but dang, man, think about this interaction. There's
Totally.
a person in front of you.
The reality is like it's a 1 in a whatever billion chance that you're going to actually come across this specific human being. Mm-hmm. And how cool is it that you get to actually talk to this human being and you get to be present with them, and maybe you get to hear their story, maybe you don't. It's just kind of an interesting, unique thing that we get to experience every single day. It's like a question mark at their door. It's like, who's going to come to the door?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah, you know that novelty, the fun. Newness. Right. So talk about, I guess just, the last 5, 6, 7 years. Sounds like you've essentially continued to scale up, bigger org, step into more of a leadership role.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? 18,
19, I still sold, but just kind of like half summers and just kind of went out there to support my team. So I was there most of the summer, if not all of it. Mm-hmm. 20 as well. That was actually a big hit. I did not like 2020 at all.
It was a weird time, dude.
Well, most of my markets were like liberal markets.
Yeah.
And
they didn't want you
not
there.
There's anything wrong with that, all right? Let's just be clear. Like we're all human beings.
Not political here, but they didn't want you knocking the door.
They didn't, and they were very afraid of COVID. And I don't blame them. Back then it was kind of like it was kind of a, weird thing going on.
Right.
So all of our guys weren't able to knock by certain times. So we actually lost quite a bit before the summer just started because parents were afraid of COVID. Reps were worried about COVID, stuff like that. And then just some things that happened in 2020. Not going to go into the details of it that sucked.
Yeah.
For the reps. Mm-hmm. And so 2021, moving into that year, was another
kind of a bounce back. Or?
It was a bounce back year for sure. Like we did good. My org has always kind of done really good, but it was just the 2020 was like momentum was going, and boom, COVID hit, and just some things happened, and it. Just hurt us. It hurt the momentum of recruiting and all that and the leadership. And 2021 was pretty good. 2022 was good, but then took some hits after 2022. And then 2023 was amazing. That's when I partnered up with I partnered up with 3 other regionals, Judd, Ray, Travis Williams, Mike Eddington, and they've all proven themselves to be giants, in the industry, and just have so many strengths that I don't.
Yeah.
Which really helped me. I'm just not the most organized I'll just say it straight up. My weakness is I'm the most disorganized regional you've ever met in your life. I'm just so spirit of the law and so wing it. And reps love me for it, but at the same time, they're like, dude, we could have definitely known about this, policy or something. I'm like, frick, guys, I didn't even know about it. Whatever, something like that. And so, where these guys are really good at communicating with their reps, organizing things, getting all that crap done. And I'm just like a people person.
Well, it's cool that you guys kind of pooled the resources like that then, because maybe they can handle your organization, you can handle a little bit of the field work for all four. Is that kind of the vibes? Or
yeah, I mean they still travel. I'm going to travel to all the teams this summer. I traveled a ton last year and hit a golden door, so I actually stepped back in the ring. I was like, you know what, screw this. 2023. I'm seeing all these guys throwing down because I never had the opportunity to sell big contracts when I was in my days, and I wanted to challenge myself. I'm like, I wonder how I would do selling big contracts. And I had my best summer. I had my best summer revenue-wise in the time frame I was there. And then on top of that, traveling for a month as well. And so
got to remind them who you are.
Got to let the young bucks know, those whippersnappers. They just sometimes a little disrespectful. No, I'm just kidding.
Talk about bouncing back from like losses of momentum. Like what do you do to keep your head up, keep your guys' faith?
I've just always had that mentality of you just got to keep going, Like, I'm a loyal guy to the core in whatever I do. And I feel like I've proven that in my life. And so just think that I live and die by is I just keep going.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's nothing that can stop me except for me, and I'm not going to let it be me. I'm going to keep going. And so COVID hits, this thing happens, a rep does this or whatever, or doesn't matter. I keep going. And sometimes it'll fuel a fire. Sometimes it hurts you.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you can use it and transition it in a way, then it'll be fuel for your fire to just waken the beast. That's what you want.
There's angles to it, man. Like sometimes a bad thing will happen and you want to do all the analysis and kind of debrief it and like stop and think about it. But then there's other times it's like, I want to be done thinking about this as soon as I can.
Right.
I want to move on from this one.
Totally.
And you do that by going back to work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and sometimes it's still not easy. Like I've had weeks of just pain where I've just had to like go to bed and I wake up in the middle of the night just upset and just I ain't gonna lie, it's been some struggles for sure.
Stressful. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that everything's been sunshine and gravy or whatever the freak they call it.
Yeah.
I think I mixed a couple of those in there. But yeah, I mean it's just a matter of with time anything heals.
Yeah.
And so even if someone does you wrong, even if somebody does whatever. Maybe there's a miscommunication there, misunderstanding, but you just got to keep going. That's my mentality.
Any kind of parting advice for our listeners from a? By the way, I was about to say from somebody who sold a lot of pest control. Do you have like a total accounts sold number? You know what it is?
Oh, see, I'm not sure how many I've done in the last like month or so as I've been out traveling and training, but I would guess I'm close to around the 8,300 mark, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And we were talking before we started filming. Again, there may be some people out there who've sold more, but they're outside of your circle. You don't know about them.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair. There's definitely. I would not argue that there could be someone that's done more. I just don't know if they've done it while also like leading an organization, recruiting.
For sure.
With having that much responsibility outside of just personal sales.
Totally.
Because it's a completely different story.
Yeah.
When you have all that other stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Any kind of parting advice on, I would especially say like, staying sharp for so long, How do you do it?
My number one thing, because I've thought about this myself, I'm like, I don't know if there's another human being that's, knocked more doors to sell pest control than myself. And so I'm like, how the freak have I done it? Like guys have asked me, like, dude, how you do it? Like
the longevity of it.
The longevity, the 13 years of it. And I just genuinely learned, well, number one, you can't take the job so seriously that it just puts you in an absolute mental spiral if you don't have a good day. Like you got to just learn that that's just part of you got to absorb it. Take it as an experience. This whole job to me is an experience at this point. Like if if I have a tough day, like to me, I absorb it and I'm like, cool, that happened. You know, whatever, tomorrow's gonna be a better day. On the good days, same thing. I'm just there to experience whatever happens. So I'm just able to like focus more on the present and have fun with people on the doors too, and just connect with them and vibe with them. And that's like the number one thing I try to like get across to reps is to, yes, take the job seriously. It's a serious job. Like go out there, you're there to get sales, you're there to earn money for your family and for your future. But at the same time, what's gonna help you get more sales is being able to relax and have fun on the doors. And just be able to connect with people. You know, people want to know that they're doing business with someone that they can trust and someone as a friend. I had a lady call me today, actually from 2020. She called me up. She's been with us for a long time, wants to cancel, wants to figure out how to do it. And I'm like, I got you, you know, Joanne, don't worry. You know, I'll take care of it for you. And so I've given my number out to all my customers for years now. And so I'll get customers here and there call me. And that's one of the most gratifying things I can do is like someone that's given me a shot, put food on my table. Let me take some stuff off their plate and be helpful to them too. So you can't think of it as a me type of thing out there on the doors. You got to look at it as like, man, like you're there to like have interaction with people, like you said earlier, right? That just that really random occurrence that you can have with this human being. And just have fun with it. So I don't know. It's a long-winded answer, but
no, I love that.
That's just kind of, I guess, my vibe today on the doors.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. If our listeners want to, you know, connect with you, interact, follow along, where can they find you?
Really, I'm just only on Instagram, so just Brigham Lindsay.
Sweet, at Brigham Lindsay.
At Brigham Lindsay.
Love it, love it.
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.